Hello everyone, I'm Bob. Welcome back to my channel. It is the middle of April and here in Okinawa we're coming up on PCS season. If you're watching this video, you may have very recently gotten an exciting assignment to Okinawa, Japan, and a lot of things in your life are going to be different over the next few years. That includes where you may be living when you get to Okinawa. In today's video, we're going to talk about the process of getting an off-base house or apartment in Okinawa. I'm going to tell you what you need to be prepared for financially as well as culturally, and we'll go over a detailed pros and cons list of living off-base in Okinawa. If you're new to my channel, my name is Bob. I make videos about my career as a financial consultant, my life as a military veteran, and living abroad here in Japan. If you feel like this content would be interesting to you, please like and subscribe so you can get first access to all my future content. When you get to your PCS location here in Okinawa, whether you live on base or off base is going to be determined by the current level of housing occupancy. Right now, there is a lot of construction and renovation happening for on-base housing, especially on Kadena. That's important because Kadena is the largest military installation on Okinawa, and therefore they have the majority of the on-base housing. So if you PCS during the peak of PCS season, here in Okinawa, it is very likely that you will be living off base because housing will be at full occupancy. Current housing occupancy rates can be found at this website, which I will put in the description box below. And please note that this website is for Kadena because regardless of your service branch, all housing is done through the housing office on Kadena Air Force Base. If on-installation housing is at capacity, you will be assigned a housing counselor to assist you and your family with finding an off-base residence. When you start looking for an off-base residence, you're going to want to know what your entitlements are so you know what price range to start looking in. While you may be used to the entitlement of BAH, which stands for Basic Allowance for Housing in the States, going overseas, you have a different entitlement called OHA or Overseas Housing Allowance that may be different from your BAH rate. Your OHA rate is going to be determined by your rank and whether or not you have dependents. Current OHA rates can be found at this website, which I will also put in the description box below. Once you get a housing counselor, they will give you a list of off-base housing agencies that the military has approved to rent from. You can only rent from these housing agencies. If it's not on the list, you will not be given your entitlement to rent from that housing agency. Once you get the list, look at that housing agency's websites and start to look at different options that they have available. Once you find a residence that you want to look at, call that housing agency and schedule a viewing appointment. Some things to consider when you're picking an off-base residence are your commute to work. Do on-base school buses serve that area, and how close is that residence to typhoon hazards? Once you find a place you want to live, you'll go to that housing agency and you will sign your lease. When you sign your lease, you will have to put down a security deposit as well as your first month of rent. This can be anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 depending on how much your monthly rent is. You can get an advance on this amount through your finance or dispersing office, but you do have to pay it back when you leave that off-base residence because this is more like a loan, it's not an entitlement. Living off base can be very exciting. A lot of people actually prefer to live off base, but like everything, there are pros and cons, so let's look at the pros and cons of living off base in Okinawa. The pros are you're closer to off-base amenities such as beaches, resort areas, public parks, shops, and restaurants. You'll be more immersed in the Japanese and Okinawan culture. A lot of off-base residences offer great views of the island and the ocean. You can take advantage of off-base ISPs and get faster internet speeds than you would be able to get on base. A lot of communities are very tight-knit and close together, so you can walk around your neighborhood, which means a lot less driving. One of my favorite pros about living off base in Okinawa as you can set up an Amazon Japan account and have things delivered directly to your off-base residence without having to go through the military's postal system. Cons for living off base include heavy traffic. Okinawa is an island, traffic is very heavy, and there's minimal public transportation. Japan has high utility costs, so you're going to be paying more in utilities than what you're used to in the States. Mostly, your two highest utility costs are going to be gas and electric. gas is going to be more expensive in the winter months and electricity will be more expensive in the summer months. You're probably going to have to do some downsizing. Okinawan houses are much smaller than American houses, so a lot of your furniture you're going to have to keep in storage, and you might have to repurchase furniture more appropriate to the size of your apartment. There is going to be a language barrier, which might make it harder to resolve any issues that you have with your housing agency. You might need to have some extra time and patience whenever you're trying to get an issue resolved with your off-base residents. A lot of off-base residents do not allow pets, so if you do have pets, you're going to be more limited in the off-base houses that you can choose from. As I mentioned before, typhoon hazards. If you live near the water or near the beach, you will have really great views, but you're also more prone to wind and water damage from typhoons. This happened with the big typhoon we had back in 2018. A lot of people that lived in the Tsunabe area had their houses flooded and they sustained a lot of wind damage as well. So that's something to consider when you are picking an off-base residence. If you live off base, it's going to be harder to access those on-base amenities like gas stations, the commissary, or the BX and PX. And lastly, on the cons list, a lot of off-base residents do not allow you to barbecue, smoke, or grill. So if you're somebody that enjoys barbecuing, smoking, or grilling, you're not going to be able to do that at an off-base residence. Another question you might have is, how do you actually pay your bills if you're living off base? Fortunately, this is really easy. When I was enlisted, I used a system called GI Bill Pay, which is at Gate 2 on Kadena. All you do is go in there, give them your bank account information, and they do an automatic withdrawal every month and pay that money to your housing agency. You don't have to do anything. However, there is a small 10% fee associated with this, so you're gonna have to pay a little extra if you use that service. For your utility bills, you can easily pay those at any Japanese convenience store, 7-Eleven, Lawson, or Family Mart. Just take your bill up to the counter, pay them in cash, and they will give you a receipt and they will stamp your bill as paid. Most ISPs here in Okinawa, you pay them just like the States. You give them your debit card information and they will just bill you every month. You can also set up a landline through Japanese ISPs, but it's not really necessary because Okinawa has really good cell phone coverage. Well everyone, that is my video for today. I hope I answered a lot of questions you may have if you are coming to Okinawa in the near future. As always, you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn or Instagram. I will put links to those in the description box below. Feel free to message me and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching everyone, and I will see you in the next one.